It's Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. Please make sure to like this video, share this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Without further ado, let's get into it today. A few things I want to talk about, printed up some articles here, jotted down some notes. Please feel free to comment down below about anything I'm discussing today. You can comment about anything you want to comment about. But if you want to comment on any of these topics, would love to know your opinion on this. And again, comment on anything you want to comment on. And let us know what's happening in your area of the country, or if you're in another country, let us know what you're seeing out there. CNBC, Richmond's Fed President Thomas Barkin says rate hikes are still on the table if inflation doesn't continue to ease. You know, I find it amazing. Today, markets were somewhat flat, but we've been watching this rally take place, and it's not based on anything the economy is doing. It's based on this hope, this prayer that the Fed is not just going to pause, but the Fed is going to reverse course and start cutting rates. And if you've been listening to the Fed, if you've been listening to Jerome Powell, he hasn't said anything in regards to cutting rates. If anything, you've been hearing him saying that they're going to keep rates higher for longer and that there is the potential for more rate hikes. Now, it shocks me the manipulation that continues to take place in these markets. And, you know, when the markets aren't doing so well, they'll roll somebody out and they'll trigger those algorithms. And now they're getting people from all the financial channels, economists, even people in the Fed now coming out saying, oh, maybe a rate cut is coming as early as March. Probably May, but as early as March. But Jerome Powell has not said anything like that whatsoever. So I think we're getting a lot of mixed signals. And again, the market is pricing in not just pause, but cuts. Barkin said he's not ready to commit to a particular policy path with so much uncertainty in the air. And if you think things are uncertain right now, wait till you see what's coming in 2024. Here's another one today on CNBC. U.S. GDP grew at 5.2% rate in the third quarter, even stronger than first indicated. Well, this again isn't from a booming economy. This is from massive amounts of government spending. This is financing two wars. This is companies making more munitions, more drones, more bombs, and sending them over across the globe. So again, a lot of this is very, very misleading. And where's the money coming from? Well, of course, they're going to print more money and borrow more money in order to finance these wars. But it looks good because they can tell you that the GDP rate rose to 5.2%, which again is just more smoke and mirrors. This is not reality. This is them printing and borrowing lots of money and telling you that everything is doing incredibly well. I don't know about you. Ask yourself, or somebody you know, are you doing better than you were a couple of years ago? How many people right now are doing better than they were 3 years ago? I honestly feel that this country is a lot less safe. I think there's a lot more violence and a lot more crime in this country, and there's a lot more bad actors who are in this country now. And being in two wars and probably very soon going to be in a third war, it's just a matter of time before that war begins to come home right here. Here's another one today. Real trouble, no one buying U.S. Treasuries. Bond sales are in the worst stretch since the Civil War. The federal government has run up so much debt that few, if any, around the world want to lend them money anymore. This cannot end well, ladies and gentlemen. Who's buying the debt? Who's buying the bonds? Well, you know the answer to that. It's the Fed. Who else? Who else would want to buy U.S. debt? The U.S. government keeps borrowing to cover its budget deficits. This government is trapped in a vicious spiral that can only lead to the financial death of America. I think you're watching the financial death of America take place right now. This to me looks like a dying patient in a hospital bed with lots of tubes hooked up to that patient, and the patient is just day to day. I don't think people really realize how bad a shape we're really in. I don't think that people really understand what is going on behind the scenes right now, what is happening in the financial sector, what's happening in the banking sector. People just want to, go to football games and baseball games and just, indulge in these activities while their country is falling deeper into a depression. And really quick, before I forget, I was watching the news yesterday, this kid who went to a football game and he was wearing the Indian headdress. And now there's a big spectacle going on with this. And, when are people going to come to the realization that these organizations really dislike you? Now, people will continue to spend $100, $500, or $1,000 for a ticket, and $10 or $12 for a hot dog, and $10 or $15 for a beer, and then somebody will bring their kid, their 7 or 8-year-old kid, to a football game with war paint and a headdress, and all of a sudden, this kid is enemy number one. When are people just going to have enough and just say, you know what, I'm done with the football games, I'm done with the baseball games, I'm done with the basketball games, I'm not giving you any more of my money, I'm not giving you another second of my time? When are people going to learn? I just don't get it. Why are people even supporting these organizations? I think people, look, there's nothing wrong with sports, there's nothing wrong with, a good movie. But you know what? I quit supporting Hollywood a long time ago because you see the garbage that they put out there. And the same thing with all of these athletics, the sporting events now too. These organizations actually hate you. They really don't like you. And this is just another example of what just took place at this football game. So I'm not going to get into it much more than that. I'm not going to get political here. It's not even political. If somebody that you give money and time to treats you like that, treats your 7 or 8-year-old kid like that, and turns you out to be some kind of loser, some kind of bacteria, basically, some just piece of garbage because you're wearing a headdress supporting your team with war paint, and now you're a bad little person because you did that. I think if I was that kid's parent, there'd be a huge lawsuit. Secondly, that would be the last football game I would ever go to in my life. So I hope people really, really wake up, because if they can go after and attack a little kid for supporting his team, they really, really hate you. U.S. Steel announces plans to lay off hundreds at Southern Illinois mill. They issued 1,000 layoff warnings to its employees at its Granite City, Illinois mill. The warnings rocked the local community, which will be severely impacted. 1,000 people just lost their job at U.S. Steel in a small town. And I always talk about, people in the small town that say, hey, life is good here, everything's fine, we don't have problems, the economy's doing well, I'm working at U.S. Steel, everything's fine. Well, Mayberry just blew up. This is another example of how quickly Mayberry can be done. And so how many people in this nice little small town in Southern Illinois, Granite City, now have come to the realization that they're in big trouble? How many of these people will lose their houses, lose their cars? How many of these people got bills? Now, how do they survive? Do you think there's a lot of opportunity in Southern Illinois, in Granite City? Probably not. They're probably not going to find a job like the one they had at U.S. Steel. So here we are back in Mayberry. Everything's fine until it isn't, because that one big employer, that one big company that employs most of the town has just laid off 1,000 people, and now Mayberry is upside down. You've got to be preparing for this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter if you live in New York or LA or Chicago, or you live in Granite City, Illinois, you got to be preparing for worst case scenario. You got to be ready to go in survival mode. Do you have 6 months to 12 months of reserves, food, cash, bills paid? What would you do? What would you do if your spouse lost a job? You know, can you still manage to pay the mortgage? People are paycheck to paycheck, and many people aren't even making it to paycheck. They're doing buy now, pay laters just to bridge that gap, or they're taking out payday loans to bridge the gap. We have got big trouble here, serious trouble. Here's another one from the Hedge today. Bad omens are everywhere. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I just pointed out a few things here in this article. When inflation drops, it says from 4% to 3%, it does not mean prices are going down. It simply means prices are still moving up, but they're moving up at a slower rate. Most of you have noticed that prices aren't going down. They're still going up. They're just going up a little bit slower. And will we ever see prices back to where they were a few years ago? Probably not. Gas prices coming down. This is another omen here. Gas prices coming down is also a bad sign because gas prices are coming down because there's weaker demand. Consumers are driving less. More people losing jobs. They don't have a job to drive to. Less people are going to be taking vacations, so they're driving less. And less people are putting gas in the car just to drive around on the weekend. They're doing all their shopping in one day. They're running all their errands in one day. They're not going out every day. They're being much more diligent with their gasoline because of the cost. And that is because people are tapped out, they're maxed out, and at some point we're going to see people, not that they want to have to do this, they're going to be forced to do this. They're going to be forced not to drive. They're going to be forced not to shop. They're going to be forced to sell their house because they don't have the money. We have a spending addiction in this country without a doubt, and people are going to continue to spend as long as they have access to those credit cards. But at some point, when the savings is depleted, the cards are maxed out, there's no more money, then it's game over. Here's one from CNBC. Americans are doom spending. Here's why that's a problem. Nearly all Americans are concerned about the current state of the economy. You could have surprised me looking at all the shopping that took place. Still, many continue to spend more and save less. Doom spending may be one way to cope with stress as economic fears mount. Isn't that a great idea? So it's basically like, you know, if you're an alcoholic, just drink more and your problems are going to go away. This is the mentality of the average consumer now in America, that you're under a lot of pressure, you're under a lot of economic stress. So what you should do is go run your credit cards up even more. In fact, go get another credit card for the holiday. People, it says here, would rather live in the moment. I totally agree with that. People are living for the moment. They're not thinking about tomorrow. They're not thinking about the end game here. They're thinking about right now, going out, spending, buying junk on Amazon, going out to dinner. And as long as they have a credit card and they can make the minimum payment, that's what they're going to do. They're not thinking ahead here. And this is extremely dangerous. Young adults feel discouraged. Well, I will give you a little advice today. If you're a young adult and you feel discouraged, one of the best things you can do is stay active. You should be training. You should be at the gym. You should be working multiple side hustles. If you don't have a full-time job, then you should have a part-time job and maybe 2 other part-time jobs, 2 other side hustles. The busier you are, you're more prone to stay out of trouble, and you're less prone to be discouraged. Stay busy. You know, keep building capital. Stay busy. Work out at the gym and work hard at your job. It may not be the best job in the world, it may not be the best employer in the world, but you know what? It's great training, and it's going to make you a better person down the road. You know, this is the time to build your foundation. I mean, if you're young right now, there's a lot of advantages. If you're willing to work hard, think about your competition. They can't even speak. They can't even talk. They mumble. They don't know how to communicate because they text and email. They don't have communication skills. They don't know how to say thank you. They don't know customer service. They just don't have the responsibility of living in the real world and taking pride in their job or satisfaction. You know, there's something to say at the end of the week when you get that check. I mean, look, I know these are hard times and I know people are struggling, but again, you know, if you're a hustler, whether you're young or you're older, if you want to go out there and hustle, look at the competition. People don't want to work. They don't want to get ahead. They want handouts. Again, they cannot communicate. They cannot speak. They have a terrible, terrible attitude. If you go out there with a good attitude and you want to work and you hustle and you have good customer service and you want to learn, I think that there's some opportunity out there. Even in these dark times, even these really rough economic times, this is a time right now to really polish your skills, cut your teeth, really learn how to be a hard worker. So again, people would rather live in the moment. Work hard and be the last person to leave. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we're going to see a lot of people lose their jobs in 2024. And you may not have the best job in the world. You may hate it. But if it's paying the bills, I would do everything I could right now to keep it, because I think that you're going to see people begging for a job at some point in this country. It may not be now, but that's going to change. It really is. I cannot stress that enough. CNN, the dollar is heading for its worst month in a year. It's not all bad news. Well, the good news is for other countries who rely on imports of commodities, as well as nations paying down dollar-denominated debt. It's good news for them. But it's bad news for you, because you're having to buy all these so-called cheap goods from Walmart and Kohl's and Target and Marshall and all these other stores. You're going to have to pay more because you have a weaker dollar. And so as we import these goods with a weaker dollar, it's going to take more dollars to buy these imported goods. It's also going to be very, very good for gold. Now, I do think we could see the dollar go back up. This is why I've said that I'm a believer in gold and cash, because we've seen the dollar surge and we've seen gold go down. Now we're seeing the dollar go down and we're seeing gold surge. By the way, I think we're about $10 off the all-time high on gold. Nothing's happened yet. Nothing's really broken yet. And as we see gold continue to rise, it is a warning for things to come. It is warning us that we're going to have some trouble coming. And I'm going to tell you, I'd rather see gold at $1,500 an ounce and things very, very level, things very, very calm. Now we have gold breaking $2,000 again. This is not a good sign. Gold is really a barometer. It's a canary in the coal mine. And now that it's over $2,000 again, it's warning us that there's uncertainties ahead, that this economy, that the financial system may not be as solid as everybody thinks it is. My buddy Albert sent me this article on Reuters today. Walmart shifts to India, cuts China imports. The world's largest retailer shipped 1/4 of its U.S. imports from India between January and August of this year. Very interesting. Very interesting. That compared to just 2% in 2018. The shift illustrates how the rising cost of importing from China and escalating political tensions are encouraging large U.S. companies to import more from other countries like India, Thailand, Vietnam. Isn't it sad that, we sit here, we talk about this, we don't make anything in America, that we have to import so much from these other countries? And of course, why do we do it? Because it's so cheap. I thought we were really against slavery in America, and I guess we're not, because it says here, Walmart employs 100,000 people in India. They pay workers between $108 to $180 per month. Per month. So it's cheaper now to go to India and pay those people than it is to pay people in China a little bit more. And what's interesting is, tell me if you see prices in Walmart go down now that they're shipping so much from India, and they're going to continue to ship more and more from India because it's cheaper. Labor is so cheap. Do you think you're going to see prices go down on the shelves at Walmart? No, absolutely not. They're very greedy. But look at what Walmart supports, paying people $108 to $180 a month. Unbelievable. But that's Walmart, and people love their Walmart, and Walmart's not even that cheap. So the Walton family making a lot of money, and they're making it on the backs of slaves, basically. I mean, this is really, to me, supporting slavery. Again, we don't make anything here. We would just rather print money out of thin air, use credit cards, buy stuff from other nations on the backs of people who are literally working at slave wages, and we just give them this fiat monopoly money, and they actually use real labor and make a real product, and we just give them monopoly money for it. How long is this going to continue to go on? How long do you think the world is going to go, wow, we're making $108 a month while America just has a money machine, a printing machine, and they can just put digits on a screen while we work, 18 hours a day, have nothing, live basically in fourth world conditions, and America can just print money and buy all of these cheap goods from us with all of this hard labor that we put into this. How long is that going to continue to go on? Unbelievable. No wonder we have so many enemies. But again, you're never going to see prices going down at Walmart. If they could go to another country and pay somebody $75 a month, they would do it, and prices would still be going up. Confetti dollars are coming. This on The Hedge today, our good friend Bill Holter. Bill Holter says, the recent underreported announcement by the UBS CEO Sergio Ermotti in Switzerland that his bank might need a rescue is yet another sign on the short road to the end of the global Ponzi scheme backed by the US dollar reserve currency. Again, how anybody out there that believes that the dollar is not going to be challenged, especially by the BRICS nations, that the dollar is going to be here for the next 100 years, you are only fooling yourself. The dollar now is under so much pressure. It's already lost 99% of its purchasing power. And the world is waking up. The world doesn't want to buy America's debt. The world is losing faith in America. And when enough of the world loses faith, it's going to be the end of the road for America. It really is. We're going to be a third world nation. Things are really beginning to accelerate. Holter points out, you've got a sick bank, which is Credit Suisse, that is being bailed out by another bank, UBS, that may turn out to be sick. You've got the Fed with $9 trillion on its balance sheet. Who will bail out the Fed, he asks. Who's going to bail out the US Treasury, Bill Holter asked. These central banks have completely blown up the balance sheets and have no ability to save anything. Bill goes on to say, my question is, who is going to save them? If they cut interest rates from here, you would see the dollar absolutely crash, he says. He goes on to say, people are not going to buy treasuries and be paid back in monkey money. Monkey money. The world is going to shun dollars and shun US treasuries. In short, confetti dollars are going to shut the credit markets down. Then it's game over because everything runs on credit. And you have to ask yourself, why is gold over $2,000 an ounce right now and everything seems fine? Nothing's broken. Because the world knows what's about to happen. And we're going to see a tightening in credit. We're going to see, I think, big trouble in the banking sector. They're not being honest with us. Why are they closing all these branches down? What's really happening? Why is gold over $2,000 an ounce? There's a lot of things happening that we just don't really know. But I think we have an understanding that things aren't as good as we're being told. We know You and I, we know that the banking system is in trouble. We know that inflation is not going away. We know that real wages are not keeping up with inflation. We know that the average household is sinking in debt. We know that people are surviving now solely on credit cards. We know that this country is nearly $34 trillion in debt and is bankrupt. We know that our infrastructure is falling apart. We know that our veterans are sleeping on sidewalks and sleeping in tents. We know that we have a mental crisis going on here in America, unlike we've ever seen before. I cannot believe, I'm just watching, and I'm not just talking mental crisis with people that are homeless. I'm watching the news last night, and just the way people act and what they say, and these are people that go to colleges, these are people that have jobs, and they have mental health issues. They really, really do. And I never thought we had so many sick people in America, and we do. And they're not all homeless. They're not all on drugs. Many of them may be people you work for or work with, or people you go to school with, or people you go to church with, or people that are your neighbors. We have got a lot of mental illness. They can function in society, but they're mentally ill. We know, you and I, we know that morally this country's breaking down. You and I know that the crime wave that is taking place is unlike anything we've ever seen before. The homelessness crisis in America, the mental health crisis in America, the drug crisis, the suicide crisis. It just goes on and on and on. And so when you have this much of a breakdown in this country, how does this ever get repaired? I think things morally, socially, financially are just going to have to collapse. And at that point, we're going to see what rises out of the ashes. But I don't see at this point anything can be saved. And you've manipulated the stock market so much that at some point the market is just going to throw all this up. So I'm going to leave it there today. A lot happening. I don't want to sit here and rant, but I just wanted to make this video. Please comment down below. But where do you see all this going? Is there any way this can be repaired, or must it crash? Must it collapse? I think it's going to have to collapse. I think that America's had it too good for too long. People in this country have had every advantage possible. There's restaurants on every corner. There's stores everywhere. There's access to credit. We've had it good. There's running water. There's no, I mean, really, you can get food anywhere in this country, basically, right? You can go to a church or a charity or a food bank, even though it's getting more difficult. But we've had it really, really good. We've been very, very blessed, and I don't think we've really given thanks to God for our blessing. You know, we haven't, seen any real acts of violence coming from other countries here for quite a while, and so that scares me too. That it's been very, very quiet, and I'm really worried about that. I'm worried about our grid. Worried about a lot of things, because we are so vulnerable now, because we've just allowed everything to stay open, and we've allowed so many people to come here. And this is not political, but when you bring people over from 150 countries, not knowing their intentions, their beliefs, their backgrounds, their criminal past, I think you're asking for big trouble. But we'll see how it all plays out. So again, I'll leave it there. Have a wonderful day. God bless every one of you. Comment down below. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe. God bless.